They start off with a farm shop, and then they will add a restaurant or a cafe, and then they will add maybe a garden centre, and then they'll add other elements of farm diversification. There would tend to be the smaller farms. I mean, the whole driving force is to support smaller farms survive, because a medium-sized farm can work in a cooperative and meet the demands and pricing levels of the supermarket, whereas the smaller farm can farm extensively, and it can offer all the welfare standards and the farming experience to the customer, but they would tend to be, let me think, maybe, well, different farms. For fruit farm can be quite small and still be working quite well within the local sector. A meat farm would tend to be bigger, but it is generally the smaller family farms which is the dominant farming type in the UK. They would tend to be the local food farms. I'm trying to work out hectares versus acres. I'm sorry. Well, if I'm doing a fruit farm of 25 acres, I can do that quite nicely for direct sales. Okay. If I'm doing a farm doing a mixed livestock, then I'll be looking for maybe about 100 acres. And none of those are very big. And they don't necessarily need to specialise either, because they have sufficient land to be able to do this again quite extensively. They need to be. I mean, I think it is true that a farm will need to fund the farm shop in its first 2-3 years of being set up, and I wouldn't expect them to be as viable as someone who just says, I'm going to open a shop on the high street, and I will need to have all the capital in place to start with. But after 3 years, they really do need to start to produce that money in the bottom line. Otherwise, they're not going to last. But so at the moment, the model is working, and we're seeing more farm shops starting up, and we're seeing very much the wish that the farm should not only be selling its own produce, but also should be adding value to that produce, and then selling a wider range, but based on the produce from the farm. If you are a meat farm, then you can sell certain parts of the animal fairly well, and then you have to look to add value to other parts of the animal. And a butcher can do that for a midway, but there will be a certain volume that you still need to converting into pies and puddings and ready meals and so on. We're just doing some work with a dairy farm, and that dairy farm is making ice cream and yogurts, and again adding value as much as possible to using puddings, and so we're seeing much more production on the farm. So that and this is led partly by the short chain push, partly by the wish to have really good distinctive products, but also local authorities wanting to have a local food economy being developed. Wow, that's a complicated question. We have a fairly strong network of fruit and vegetable distribution in the UK, and so we are able to hitchhike on the back of that. But there also, we notice, is quite a lot of good informal exchange. So, for example, if you're running a relatively small farm shop and you're also attending farmers markets, you will pick up products when you go to the farmers market from other farmers and bring those back to the farm shop. Equally as much, we see that there is often an exchange between farms, and that sometimes a local distributor will carry a number of products from one farm to the next, because he's also carrying a line that he wants to sell to the farm shop. It's not structured. We know it's very complicated, it's very informal, but it works.